Castellans and masters-at-arms led some of the most overlooked and underappreciated tasks in all the Seven Kingdoms. They were responsible for leading great strongholds in the absence of their lords, and they were responsible for training resident soldiers. They were also instructed to teach the sons of those they served to become knights in their own right. Often, their work went unnoticed until something went wrong. A lordling lost a fight, an army lost a battle, or a lord lost his castle. Yet, the most successful masters-at-arms became close confidants to their lords and earned the respect of entire kingdoms as a result. Such a man as this was Rodrik Cassel. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Exploring Fiction. A servant of the North for his entire life, Sir Rodrik Cassel was a mainstay at Winterfell, where he carried out his duties without question. He was so loyal that Eddard, Catelyn, and Robb Stark all had no qualms about leaving him virtually in charge of their great home when they left on various campaigns. Rodrik acted nobly in their stead, but his servitude to the realm of the North led him through deceit and straight to his doom. He paraded across the lands, dispensing justice as his masters the Starks would have done, but in his efforts to live up to his lord's expectations, he fell into the traps of those less honorable. So, who exactly is Rodrik Cassel, and why is he such an interesting character? Let's explore. Rodrik Cassel was born approximately in the year 248 AC to unnamed parents in the north. He had one brother, Martin Cassel. His mother died quite early on in his life, and so Rodrik, like the rest of the males in his family, including his nephew Jory, quickly became enamored with serving House Stark. Before long, he was knighted, and soon promoted to Master-at-Arms of Winterfell. In this role he excelled, training Robb Stark, Jon Snow, and Theon Greyjoy in the ways of a warrior as they grew from boys to men. Rodrik also maintained a close relationship with Lord Eddard Stark. At some point across his dutiful adult life, Rodrik was married 3 times, and had various children. They were all daughters, though the only named child referenced in the greater narrative was Beth Cassel, who lived with her father at Winterfell. Sir Rodrik was a stocky man, with white hair that flowed down into whiskers on either side of his face. His entire life, he preferred sword to song, and so was perfectly suited for the title of Master-at-Arms. When summoned to fight, Rodrik donned ringmail beneath a billowing cloak, and strapped to his side both a dagger and longsword, with which he was quite deadly. Ever in service to House Stark, he continued to train the young spawn of Lord Eddard, even as a retinue of epic proportions trailed in from the King's Road. It is in his beloved North where Sir Rodrik Cassel first appears in A Song of Ice and Fire, in the opening novel, A Game of Thrones. When King Robert Baratheon and his lengthy caravan arrives, Rodrik supervises the princes of the crown and the lordlings of Winterfell in their sparring. The matches include Tommen versus Bran, and Joffrey against Robb. The latter pair scuffle so much that they request to fight with true steel, but Rodrik strictly forbids it. Later, once the Great Company has settled into their temporary northern abode, Sir Rodrik is one of the men who accompanies the king during his hunt near the castle. Robert Baratheon receives what he desires from his trip north, Lord Eddard's acceptance of the King's Hand position, and so leads the trek back to King's Landing with his old friend in tow. But during the crown party's stay at Winterfell, Bran was crippled after having fallen from a tower, and Lady Catelyn Stark stays behind to watch him. It is the luck of a mother's love as she is present at Bran's side when an assassin bearing a Valyrian steel dagger attempts to kill the boy. She thwarts him, and after being informed of the incident, Sir Rodrik swears a vow to the Lady of Winterfell to protect her and aid her in any way to make things right. He enlists a ship to White Harbor so he and Catelyn can travel in hiding to King's Landing, in order to inform Lord Eddard, though Rodrik suffers greatly from seasickness during the trip. The pair returns safely to shore, however, and Rodrik brings the mysterious dagger straight to his colleague Sir Aron Santagar, Master-at-Arms of the Red Keep, for closer inspection. As the two men ponder the weapon, Lady Catelyn meets with her childhood friend, Lord Peter Baelish, who advises her that the dagger belongs to Tyrion Lannister. Catelyn later meets with her husband, and Lord Eddard bids her return to Winterfell, but not before she has told the tale of the attempt on Bran's life. Rodrik and Catelyn begin their return journey, huddled and disguised along the King's Road. But a chance stop at the inn at the crossroads skews the trajectory of their lives. As they take quick respite at the inn, they are recognized by Tyrion Lannister, and still believing the imp is responsible for the attack on Bran, Catelyn calls for his arrest. Sir Rodrik is one of many knights in the inn to answer her plea. The now larger party leads Tyrion to the Vale, the home of Catelyn's sister, Lady Lysa. On their journey, they are attacked numerous times by the Wild Mountain clans, and Sir Rodrik suffers multiple injuries in the various skirmishes. He is left behind at the Bloody Gate along with Sir Willis Woade to recover, while his charge hauls her prisoner up to the Eyrie itself. Never one to stray far from the Starks, though, Rodrik follows up the mountain as soon as he is fit to do so. Yet despite all her scheming being fueled by the unstoppable nature of her love for Bran, Catelyn's plan fails, and Tyrion escapes justice with the aid of the sellsword Bronn. She and Rodrik return for home, now accompanied by Catelyn's uncle, Sir Brynden Tully, but at White Harbor, she instead pivots and decides to meet Robb at Moat Cailin. To Sir Rodrik, she grants the task of returning to Winterfell and watching over the fortress as Castellan in her absence. Rodrik obeys, proving a welcome sight to the Winterfell residents. As if he knows the worst is yet to come, he takes to training some of the local boys to be new guardsmen for House Stark, and it appears his intuition is correct. Sir Rodrik Cassel is also seen in A Clash of Kings. Along with Maester Luwin, he holds direct command of Winterfell, aiding and advising young Bran Stark in Robb and Catelyn's absence. The direwolves Summer and Shaggy Dog grow more restless with every passing day, and so just like everyone but their direct masters, Rodrik confines the beasts to the Godswood. He continues to train the local boys to fight, including the new Winterfell wards, Big and Little Walder Frey. And when the time of the harvest feast approaches, Rodrik welcomes guests from all over the north, sitting at Bran's side as the bannermen not with Robb in the south flock to greet their young lord. Rodrik directs the continuation of cooperation in the war effort, and makes every attempt to appear courteous to his guests, but tensions in the north are rising far beyond his control. On her way home from the feast, the widowed Lady Danella Hornwood is captured by Ramsay Snow, the bastard of Bolton, and forced to marry him at sword point. In response, Rodrik rallies the forces under his command and rides east to resolve the conflict. His men supposedly kill Ramsay and capture his odorous servant Reek, but Danella has already starved to death by the time they reach her lands. And so, Rodrik returns home only half successful, with the North sitting in a precarious and exposed position. Even more betrayal lurks off the shore. Theon Greyjoy has rejoined his kin from the Iron Islands, and seeks Winterfell as his own. Predicting the reaction of the Master-at-Arms he'd trained under for so long, Theon sends Dagmar Cleftjaw to capture Torrhen Square, which he hopes will draw Sir Rodrik away from the real prize. To the dismay of all but Theon, he is correct, and Rodrik rides out to protect the smaller settlement in his lord's stead. This leaves Winterfell ripe for the taking, and Theon claims it with only a handful of men, going so far as to fake the murder of Bran and Rickon to establish his dominance. From Torrhen Square, where he has earned a bittersweet victory, Rodrik sends word to Catelyn Stark at Riverrun that Bran and Rickon have supposedly been killed, and then amasses more men to march back to Winterfell, this time as the ones laying the siege. Rodrik stalls outside Winterfell's gates, and is the main voice to bargain with Theon from where the Ironborn sits atop the wall. Theon threatens to hang Rodrik's daughter Beth if the wizened Castellan makes a move, though Maester Luwin advises the boy is better off just surrendering. But before further negotiations can be made, a massive force of Bolton men join Rodrik's own army outside the gates, and the latter man greets them as allies. Instead, the Bolton leader, Ramsay Snow, severs Rodrik's arm and kills him, squashing the will of the true Northmen and earning Theon's trust. The boy lets Ramsay and his forces inside Winterfell. It is a monumental blunder indeed, as Ramsay directs for the Boltons to burn the castle and kill the Ironborn occupiers. And for all his mettle, all his merit, all his loyalty, Sir Rodrik Cassel lies lifeless outside the walls he'd lived behind for so long. In later entries in the narrative, Rodrik's death is attributed to Theon instead of Ramsay, so as to paint the Boltons in a better light. But finally, in A Dance with Dragons, the survivor of the sacking, the boy Wex Pike, reveals to Wyman Manderly and Robert Glover, and then indirectly to Lord Davos Seaworth, the truth of the matter. And as if the fate of the entire Castle family could not be any worse, young Beth sits captive at the terrifying Dreadfort, her ultimate fate yet unknown. Rodrik Cassel lives to serve the North. His entire life is spent training and protecting Winterfell and its surrounding lands. Though he may not have ever been as close to Lord Eddard as his nephew Jory, Rodrik still proves indispensable to the operations of the North. When Eddard is called to King's Landing as part of a dreaded promotion, he leaves Rodrik behind to assist in mentoring Robb, the acting Lord of Winterfell. And after a brief stint in which he accompanies Catelyn on her quest to seek justice for the attempted murder of Bran, Rodrik returns home, though only just in time for Robb himself to vacate Winterfell. Catelyn meets her son on the road to war, and suddenly, a boy not even in his adolescent years has command of the greatest seat in the North. Yet, none of the adult Starks worry too deeply about this fact. After all, the combination of Sir Rodrik and Maester Luwin is bold and respected enough to warrant no serious threats from without or within. As Castellan, Rodrik yearns to live up to the expectations placed upon him. While Robb and Catelyn busy themselves with attempting to emerge victorious from the War of the Five Kings, Rodrik polices the North. The emergence of Ramsay Snow immediately tests his prowess, and Rodrik rides all over the face of the earth to calm the rising tensions the Bastard of Bolton causes. Further still is his resolution tested when the North faces a new, yet familiar threat in the form of Theon Greyjoy. The Ironborn boy knows Rodrik well, and knows that the Castellan will do anything and everything to protect his beloved home, and so sets a hasty trap. Rodrik, to both his detriment and his merit, immediately rides to quell the raiding party of Dagmar Cleftjaw, and thus leaves Winterfell open for the taking. If Sir Rodrik were to only halt and evaluate the situation, study and deeply examine the strategies of his enemies, he may have been able to thwart the scheme correctly. But he proves too loyal, too loving toward the kingdom he calls home, and hastens to defend each and every nook and cranny of it the moment it falls under attack. And so, Winterfell is taken from under his nose, and he loses his life trusting in a man who lacks a similar love for the hardy North. Rodrik may have lived had he not rushed from Winterfell at every inconvenience, but his downfall is hardly the most notable in relation to House Stark. Amidst shifting alliances, stunning betrayals, and cutthroat politics, Sir Rodrik Cassel remains staunch in his support of the Lords of the North. Having served the Starks all his life, he acted as both Master-at-Arms and Castellan of Winterfell when called upon, training boys and lordlings in the ways of knighthood, and rallying the forces of the kingdom behind him to dispense justice. Yet, for all his efforts, Rodrik proved faithful to a fault. When he finally sat as supreme military force in the North, he did not seize power for himself, but worked to live up to the responsibility the Starks had placed upon him. But he worked too hard. Rodrik's mission drove him all across the North, and he fought to quell every inkling of conflict in his master's absence. He spread himself too thin, and fell for easily identifiable traps. This cost him his life, and Sir Rodrik Cassel gained the reputation of having been devoted too far. So, that's all for this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Visit my website, russellawellsauthor.com, for exclusive reviews, fiction, and more. And sign up for my mailing list for free exclusive content. The links for both are in the description below. And, like always, I will see you next time.